Welcome to episode 28 of Take Your Points. I'm your host, Ronan Scott, and we're continuing our series of looking at successful teams over the past decade, and this week we're moving to Armagh, where we're going to look at Pearse Og's success in 2009. This success is notable because from 1996 to 2008, Crossmaglen were the dominant team in Armagh and had won every championship. They seemed almost unbeatable, but in 2009, Pearse Og changed all that when they stunned the Rangers in the quarterfinals. I've asked a number of players from Pearse Og to give me their memories and to explain how they managed that incredible achievement of knocking Crossmaglen off their perch.
The 2008 final ended in a defeat. Crossmaglen, I think it was in the final. It was the first final that we had played in the athletic grounds for quite a long time.
Same old story. Came up against Cross in the final and tied at half time and let us go into another gear in the second half. They just seemed to know how to win games and grind them out. But so we were desperately disappointed losing that final because we had played some good stuff and we were there or thereabouts in the last 15 minutes.
It was 13 in a row that Crossmaglen had won, and there was only maybe one other team in Ireland that had won as many successive championships, a team maybe from Mayo.
That sort of gave us a bit of motivation and a bit of confidence in ourselves that we're not that far away from them, and if we just fine tune a few things or maybe change a few things, we would be there or thereabouts, you know.
We had a big squad then now in 2009, so everybody was pushing each other in the places. You know, did we think we were going to be successful? I think so, yeah. I think we had a good group there that thought, yeah, this is the year we need to start pushing on and hopefully get one or maybe even more.
We knew that we had plenty of potential in the team, that we were at an age that we possibly should be making a breakthrough. We had a good mix of experience and youth. We were confident that we had the ability to win a championship, but it would be hard to say from the outset that 2009 was going to be our year.
I'd stepped away at the end of the 2007 season. Just hadn't been enjoying football as much as I had been up to that point. I went off to university in Liverpool, and then I actually spent the 2008 summer in San Francisco playing football with the Ulster Club. Had the best summer ever, but that probably then reignited the passion to come back and give the Ogs 100% dedication again. 2008
was a bit of a disaster for myself because in the Ulster final replay against Fermanagh, I broke my arm. So that ruled me out for, they were saying, at least 6 months, but we were trying to rush against time and get me fixed back and ready for the county final, which was happening in October. So I got myself into a position that was 50%. I was nearly there, and the week before the final I actually fractured it again in training, so that ruled me out altogether.
It was my last season with Armagh. Armagh had just won an Ulster title in 2008, and it meant that when I started the 2009 season that I only had one team to solely focus on, and that was Pearse Og.
2009 was the first year that Brenton Hughes would have come in as manager. Adrian Clark was there previous for years. He would have taken us right through under 10 right up to senior, and really good man, really good manager, really good club man, but we just seemed to get to that level and we just couldn't get past Cross. They just seemed to be beating us in finals year after year, so he decided to step down just to freshen things up, and Brenton Hughes came in.
With Brenton in, and he had a few new faces in his backroom team as well. A few more players in as well, you know, the likes of ourselves, the younger boys were then pushing on as well, along with the experience, you know, Ronan there with Andy, Ciaran McKinney and nets, you know, boys that been about and knew what to expect year in, year out.
I had come back after missing a full year. We had a new manager in, but the fact of the matter is everyone knew if we were going to win the championship in Armagh, you had to beat Crossmaglen, and Crossmaglen weren't going anywhere.
There was a lot more intensity in our training. There's more focused on the athleticism. We had Malcolm McCausland, highly regarded athletic coach, who was doing a lot of speed work at that time. And probably maybe there was more specific training for different players in different positions within the team.
The league that year, we always would have played against Cullen. Would have been the first league game every year away up there, and it was always a tough place to go to. So first league game, I think it was a Friday night. We travelled up, and it would have been Brenton's first competitive match with us, and I think we got beat by 3 or 4 points. We were doing well, but they scored a late goal or something, so we were beat anyway. So it wasn't the ideal start that we wanted, but we knuckled down to training. Brenton brought in more athletics training and sort of stamped down what way he wanted to play and how he wanted the team to play. So we all bought into it and went through the league. We played Cross twice, and I think we drew with them twice. We drew them up there, and then in the home game we actually should have beat them. And the fact that we hadn't beat them in so long, years, it gave us a lot of confidence because we should have beat them, and I think they got a free towards the end and Tony Ciaran put it over to equalise the game. So we drew a lot of confidence from that there, and we were going well as we were starting to build towards every game. We were playing challenge games against Tyrone teams, against Dublin teams as well, which is unheard of. We never would have went outside the county to play challenge games.
St Vincent's, who obviously went on a few years later and won a couple of Club All-Irelands, but nobody knows this. We played St Vincent's in 2009 and 2010, and we beat them by about 30 odd points. Like, no joke, we beat them out the gate, and it was games like that gave us so much more confidence for the championship. So in the league we were just operating probably sort of mid-table, not setting the world on fire, but we were playing really, really good teams.
Before the championship first round, Brenton told us that we were going to do a training week, and we were all sort of looking around going, what do you mean training week? Like, this isn't county. He says we're to be on the pitch every night at 7 o'clock, 7:30 start this week. So we all went home anyway, and we trained hard every night of the week for a week, which is unheard of in club training back then. And he went through everything. He went through game plans. He went through the way he wanted us to play. He went through defence, forwards, more fitness training, more tactics, and really, really hammered it home. And we were really buying into it. It was good, fresh training, and it was building us nicely for the championship. And we had a centre half forward, Greggy Loughearn, ex-county player, who was pulling the strings for us from centre half forward, and his last game was halfway through the season because he was moving to America. So after playing so well, getting the team in good shape, and then lose such a key player, we were slightly worried that things mightn't go so well because he's such a big player to fill.
Lockie leaving, Lockie was one of the best club footballers in Armagh, so a lot of people were probably thinking that's the Oaks chance gone. But him leaving probably gave the likes of myself, Sean Moore, Dackie McManus then a chance to come in and basically stake a claim.
But 2008 getting to the final, now it was 2009 new championship. It was knockout as well, not the same as it is now, so that was made it more exciting. Each game was a final, and it was just give it your all.
They were making the draw for the championship, and we got news that we had Cross. So there was a little bit of anxiousness, but a lot of excitement because we knew in 2 weeks' time we were playing Cross, and we had drew with them twice in the league, and we were confident enough. Playing against Cross, you always are going to be up against it, no matter what. They're a serious team, and they're serious and competitive, even within the squad. So we went away and we done, I think, 2 weeks hard training, and then came back into it and eased off the last week and played Cross. The game probably could have went either way. The last 10 minutes it was still nip or tuck, but in other years we would have sort of been like a rabbit in the headlights the last 10 minutes. We're still in this, and then start panicking. But this year we had a good system. We a bit more experience as well, and we just ground it out. But I remember, I think there was 10 mintes to go, and Tony, I was doing well on Tony, but he caught a ball above me in the 45 out in the Canaris end and just turned and swung it straight over. I remember thinking to myself, Jesus, is this the start of it? Like, you know, but we didn't. We ground it out, and that was a massive victory. So it was a massive victory.
I think that on that night it was a reasonably low scoring game, and we had many close encounters with Crossmaglen where games had been very, very close, and they'd maybe always come back in the last 5 or 10 minutes maybe to nick a draw or to beat us. I can just remember the excitement and the euphoria whenever the final whistle went, and it's probably one of the biggest memories and the happiest memories that I've had in the run up to the final.
People don't even take into consideration that it was only the quarter final. You know, we hadn't won anything at that stage, but honestly, the people that came onto the field after the pitch invasion probably took me a good 15 minutes to get from one end of the field to the other end at the end of the game, and that was probably the first time we realised how much this meant to the club as a whole and the supporters. Like, I had literally grown men coming up to me, hugging me, crying at the end of that Crossmaglen match, and all I was thinking was, hey, this is only the quarter final, we haven't even won anything. But I think at the end of that, the lads knew, we were like, you know, we can't let this go. You know, we've done the hard part now, and now we have to go and finish the job.
It was a major turning point. It was from that point then that we probably had a greater self-belief in ourselves, and we knew that we had the potential to go on and win the championship, and it was basically down to us. We had to perform for the next 2 or 3 games, and that was the pressure that we had put on ourselves.
Straight after the game, celebrating whatever else, Ronan Clark called us into the corner and he says, lads, this would be the biggest shame and disgrace in history if we beat the All-Ireland champions, Crossmaglen, and do not win this championship. And it took everybody right back down to earth straight away, because we were unbelievably joyful for winning, but there was that sort of anxiousness that don't waste this, lads. We've waited so long to meet these lads, and it's not even a final. You know, do not waste this. So we went away and settled down. We had our night, whatever else, and we settled down, got back into training again.
It was kind of the monkey off our back at that stage. We knew then that potentially we were probably the best team left within the competition at that stage, but we still had the fear that we could slip up. Personally, it was something that played in my mind for the rest of the season. I didn't want to be part of a team that did all the hard work and beating Crossmaglen and then letting somebody else go on ahead and win the championship.
So after Cross, we had Clonard in the semi-final, and Clonard were a tricky team. You know, so we played them a good few times before that there, and they had some nice players, some very talented players. I would have been marking Ryan Henderson, and I knew Handy. Handy's a good lad. Knew him from county, and everyone in the country knows Handy's ability, and if he's on form, you're going to suffer. But thankfully that night we had a good game plan. We snuffed him out best we could, and it was a tough game, but it wasn't as tough as the Cross game, and we were gaining a little bit more composure, a little bit more confidence, and fitness all the time as well. And we got past them, and that was us into the final then. After
beating Crossmaglen, there was no sort of, you know, arrogance among the squad and saying that's it, we have it won. We went out, and the first half of the Clonard match we were absolutely first class. The match was over at half time, thankfully, because I didn't have too good a second half. I remember that game, my man scoring a few points off me. The whole thing came back then that the news was we were playing our rivals, the Harps, in the final, and the town just took up a different life. It was as if that's all anybody spoke about for about a month before it, and there was banners going up all over the town. It was like a carnival, so it was really like probably a bit of a distraction as well, because you were stuck in the middle of it. But I'd say a few of the young lads probably got caught up in it and were distracted, but obviously a few of us older heads had been there and done it before, especially the county as well,
and we knew just to separate ourselves from that there. It's at the end of the day, it was a football match. You didn't really need to get involved in all the rest of the slagging and the banter that was going on. There was plenty of time for that after the game.
Obviously, with it being two town teams, the town was, the banter was top class. Everything was all really good hearted. It was just blue and white everywhere, green and gold everywhere. And I actually lived down in the Harps end of town. I lived in Abbey Park, which was 30 seconds away from the Harps pitch. So in my housing estate, it was blue and white everywhere. But myself and my next door neighbour actually were two Oaks families. So we had our house all decked out in green and gold.
The build up to the final, it was good. So it was, we had the whole town, every pole had a different colour on it. Depending on what side of the town you were from, everybody talked about it. Other clubs were interested in it because one, it was a local derby, and two, it was the first year in I don't know how many years Cross hadn't been in it.
Depending on who you bumped into, it was either Harps ones who were, giving you a bit of slagging, or it was Oaks ones, wishing you luck and whatever else. But all the bars and stuff in the run up to it, it was just really, really good crack and great to see, to be honest. It was great for the town.
We knew the Harps were a quality team. Like they were in a final, and they had some good wins in the build up to it. And like the quality players, like Charlie Vernon, great lad. Charlie played with him years with the county. And the likes of him, Nippy Swift, Patter Told, all quality players, all county players. So we knew that they had a good team, and we had to be at our best to beat them.
A week before the first round, Jared Barton, who has played full back his whole career pretty much with the Oaks, he got a bad injury, picked up a bad injury, playing hurling. I was actually a real versatile player for the Oaks. I probably played every single line of the field throughout my career, and I got hooked from midfield back in the full back. So I ended up playing the first round, quarter final against Cross, the semi final, all in full back. Thankfully, Bardo got back literally 2 weeks before the final. He was back in for the Ulster game, and then back in for the final. So even though I wore number 3 in the final, I knew I was lining out in midfield, because that's where myself and Andrew Duffy had played pretty much all season. But then after Ed went back into full back, I think Sean Moore came in, Cusey dropped in the midfield, and that was sort of the depth of the squad at the time, which really stood to us because Bardo was such an important player, and obviously then I had been playing midfield, so we were able to sort of reshuffle the pack without it having that big an impact on us.
The week before the county final, maybe a week and a half before it, the Railway Cup had just been announced, the team, and Joe Ciaran was the manager, and we were training, I think it was the weekend, and Brenton came in after the training and says, lads, we're playing Ulster during the week in the athletic grounds. We were all looking around going, why, we're playing Ulster? What do you mean Ulster? He says, yeah, we're playing the Railway Cup team. And like, alarm bells started going off my head. I was going, here, Brandon, we're playing a county final in a week's time, a week and a half's time, and we're playing Ulster before it. This could be devastating to the lads. We could get beat out the gate. And he was so confident. He was like, no, we're playing Ulster. We're gonna. This will be great preparation for the final.
We played Ulster 2 weeks before the final. The full forward line was Paddy Bradley, Michael Murphy, and Benny Coulter. I thank God I had actually been moved back out the midfield again. Bardo was back from his injury. So games like that gave us more confidence for the championship than the league probably did. But that was the games where we actually really said to ourselves, lads, listen, we're on the verge of doing something really special here.
We arrived at the athletic grounds, and some of the younger lads were as white as ghosts. They were saying, here, I'm going to be marking, who am I going to be marking tonight here? And for the county boys, it was probably a little bit, it was daunting too, because it was a club team against an Ulster team, So but I remember running out onto the pitch and doing our warm-up or whatever else, and at the same time a few of the Harps lads were up getting their pictures taken for the county final programme. And I can only imagine what them boys were thinking, because they were playing us in a week's time and we were playing Ulster that night. So they're probably saying, Jesus, these lads are confident, like they fancy anything here. So in a way, it was probably a masterstroke from Brenton Hughes, no matter what way it turned out. Because if we had to get beat out the gate, we were playing Ulster. We actually didn't. We played well, and I think they beat us by 5 or 6 points in the end up, but you were expecting a lot worse. And the confidence that we drew from that game alone was something else. But I think it was a masterstroke from Brenton, because he probably knew what he was doing all the whole time. He knew that in the town, the Harps boys would have been up getting there was plenty of talk around the place. Like, everyone knew that we were playing Ulster, and it was probably for everybody else's sake that he played this game, just to say, here, our guys are playing Ulster and our guys can mix it. Like. So it was a shrewd enough move from him, I think.
The final itself, complete damn squib. It was the worst day you can imagine playing football in. Torrential rain, the wind was absolutely horrendous, and the match finished then 8-4, 4-8 at half time. I remember going in at half time and Brenton was like, what he is doing, lads, he haven't stuck to the game plan at all. And that was the case. The weather obviously had a factor in it. Maybe it's the fact it was a derby, and then obviously the nerves of the final.
We were lucky, we got off to a good start, and we took our scores, and it was brilliant. So yeah, it's been great memories to have.
Lucky enough, we come out the second half, defence tightened up a bit, forwards kicked a few more scores, but to be honest, that was the running theme that year, where the defence were keeping teams to like very, very little points, but the forwards weren't scoring that much either, so I always laugh and give JJ a bit of slagging that it was the defence that won the championship for us that year.
I think that season was extremely important, because we put in so much work over the years, like right through underage. We had won like 5 juveniles, 3 minors in a row, a couple of Ulsters. We won an Ulster. There's a lot of groundwork put in, right from Adrian Clark, Louis O'Neill, John Carson, guys that had taken us right up through and worked so hard. And once we got to senior level, we never really got much for all our juvenile and underage achievements, because Cross were so strong, and we sort of felt that, is this going to be all for waste? Like, are we not going to get anything out of this? But that year that we did win was so important. You could just see the relief and the joy on the faces of these guys. Marc, Cullen, Donat Toner, Harry McGoke, they were all so happy that, and relieved that we had actually we got our gold pot at the end of it, for all our hard work underage. Like Adrian Clark, like through the trenches all the years, like put in some shift. Paul Grimley as well. These guys really, really went to hell and back for us. And we never repaid them by getting over the line. But this year, everyone was just so relieved and so happy, and you could see it in the joy in their faces. They were overcome with joy that night. We walked into the Oaks Club. There wasn't a night like it.
Yeah, that short walk home from the Pearse Og club to Drellancourt was a journey that I'd made numerous times before. This time I was walking with a trophy in my hand, and was walking with my wife Lana, and it was great just to take a bit of time to myself, just to take stock of the day. I had just left the Pearse Ogs, which was Haven. It was great excitement and great celebration going on, but it was great just to have a bit of time to myself, just think about what we had achieved. This was something that myself and a group of players had been striving for years to do, and had numerous setbacks and defeats, and as I say, it was a memory that I treasure greatly. I can't remember a great deal about the game, but it's one thing that sticks in my head. Just those 5-10 minutes walking home with the trophy is something that I'll always remember.
Just for the club, it was brilliant. It was a great night. It was a great week, maybe. Celebrated long and hard for the good week, and I think everybody enjoyed it, and it was a great buzz, and even the same people, same faces are still about the club now, so it's great to be able to talk about it and enjoy it, and hopefully it'll not be too far before we're there again.
For me, like playing along with the likes of Ciaran Hughes, you know, who that was a second. He got a county medal way back whenever he first came onto the team. He was 18 or 19 or something, and he went full circle. Fantastic county player, you know, a legend in our eyes. Like, you know, we really looked up to him, and like to play alongside him in maybe one of his last years and to get a county title, and it was amazing. And even the likes of Paul Duffy, Ronan Clark, Shorty Clark, Chris Rafferty, like guys that are quality players, and we really did have a good team, and it was just so great to play along with these guys and finally get over the line and finally get that medal, you know.
Well, that year we actually ended up winning the senior championship and the B championship. I actually won a B championship as well because I hadn't played in 08. I was eligible to play for the Bs as well as the senior team. I actually remember at our presentation year that year, so I had won a B championship, a senior championship, and I then got a call up to the Armagh panel, and it was actually Mickey Savage, I think, who was maybe the secretary or something or other at the time, who's now the chairman. I remember him giving me my medal, and he shook me hand and he said, you've had some year B championship, senior championship, and then a county medal. He says maybe you get an Ulster championship at the end of this one.
We played St Gall's in the first round of the championship the week after, or I think it was 2 weeks after, and see him again. It nearly felt like deja vu to Cross, like we're up against St Gall's now, and like the game was there for the taking. We were like, I think Ronan Clark shouldn't even be playing that day because he was so sick. He had a 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper in the last maybe 5 minutes, and he just pulled it wide. But if that had went in, we would have been like 2 points up. So like, and they went on and won the All Ireland that year too. So it's frustrating in a way, but like to know that we could mix it with these guys, and we weren't that far away from where we needed to be. But we were just delighted to get that county title, and it was a great time.
Obviously, with us winning the senior and the Bs, and with the team that we had, we should have been going on and winning, you know, a few more championships. I think a lot of people in the club thought it was going to lead to a purple patch, but it just never materialised. Cross came back and won back-to-back All-Irelands. You know, and that says it all. That's why, for me, Cross are the best club side of all time. They're just what they do year after year, and you know, with us winning it one year and going out the next year, and you know, getting beat in the quarter-final stage, it just goes to show you what they're able to do. You know, the dedication and the commitment to it.
That season 2009 was a hugely important year for Pearse Og. For years we had been trying to win a championship, and it was definitely a relief that we actually had made a breakthrough. I can remember the last time the Oaks had won a championship before that in 92. I would have been only 11 at the time, and I looked up to a lot of those players as role models, and it was something that I always wanted, aspire to, was to win a championship. So hopefully, you know, there's still people that's playing on that team in 2009 that are still playing today, the likes of Chris Rafferty and Conor Clark and the two Duffys, and hopefully there's underage people that are playing within the club that see those people as role models, and they too want to aspire to go and win a championship for Pearse Oaks.
To be honest, we should have won the All-Ireland that year. That's probably going to be something that lives with me forever. St Gall's, after they beat us by 2 points, they went on and won All-Ireland. They coast to an All-Ireland, and I actually bumped into a few of the St Gall's lads a few months ago, and the first thing they said to me was, geez, you let us off the hook that day. And yeah, I think a lot of those boys from that team, deep down, we know it. We know how close we were. Unfortunately, it never happened. But I suppose one thing we can say is we have our Armagh medal from that time. There's so many players who played football in Armagh for 10 and 20 years who didn't get a medal, a county medal, because Crossmaglen were just so dominant. So at least I have my Armagh Championship medal in my pocket from that year.
And so there it is. Darnell summed it up. As so many successful teams, they always feel like they should have won more. Pearse Og definitely think they should have won more, and probably the St. Gall's guys might have agreed with them, but they won what they did. They were successful that season, and nobody can take that away from them. If you enjoyed this show and if you enjoyed this story, there's plenty of other stories we have on our site. You can actually watch that St. Gall's 2010 show where they won the All Ireland. There's also our most recent before this one was St. Louis Kilkeel's story from 04-06 whenever they took on the big boys. And before that there was Ballinderry, and we've looked at Rossa Camogues and Lochiel Hurlers from 2010. So you can get those all on our website, which I encourage you to go along to and subscribe if you can. And if you have any ideas of your own that you'd like to see, any teams you want us to cover, don't hesitate to contact us on all the social media and emails. But that's our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join us again in the future. Thanks.